Hey, welcome to this Monster Hunter Stories speedrun commentary. My name is Crepador. I'm the current world record holder of all categories, and since this is the main category, because it's the fastest vision, I will comment about the current routing, strategies, and my thoughts about certain monsters and how to approach them. This game, in my opinion, is very cool to speedrun. It's very beginner friendly. The strategies aren't really that hard. You only have to memorize things and to make good decisions. So right here the run starts, and currently we're using the Japanese version because there's a monster in the beginning where the text is just faster. And right now we're setting the text speed to max. In this area that only appears one time in the game, we want to walk as little as possible in the tall grass, since this will slow us down. And you can see a rare bone drop, and someone in the community speculated that maybe in this area the drops aren't fixed. So just for explanation, you can get some egg fragments from rare bone drops, and the speculation is that you maybe can get some monsters that you shouldn't get this early in the beginning, but due to some probability shenanigans, the probability is too low to test it out at the moment, and we would need some technical tools to check this hypothesis. Also, we want to pick the male character because we would need one more click to choose the female character. That's about it. This game has skippable and non-skippable cutscenes, and mostly skippable cutscenes are interactions with other NPCs. Most of fixed monster encounters, and what we can't skip are introduction to new areas and also some introductions to fixed monsters from the story. Here in the early beginning of the game, we will run from NPC to NPC. Very straightforward stuff, just talking to them. The first monster that we are getting from the run will be Velocidrome, and we want to get rid of this monster as quick as possible, and we will exchange it for the Gombi as soon as we get our hands on this wonderful monster. Velocidrome is, because it's a beginner monster, very weak. It has a great speed, but other than that it's not really good. It also has some debuff attacks that aren't really useful, and when it's playing out it's like debuff and buff attacks. We are losing time because we won't deal damage in those turns, and the Velocidrome we get always has the same stats, which is great to work with. So upon entering this cave, we get another cutscene, and after picking up this monster, I will get the main thing that makes this run possible in under 3 hours, which is QR codes. The most important item that I will get from QR codes is level up items. I also get lots of other very valuable items as well, which are items to give me more life, healing items, items to deter monsters, and other stuff like traps, which can make fights way more secure and way more consistent for me. And the good thing is that we're getting those QR codes right at the beginning of the run, which is from this one cat, this one here. When picking up the QR codes, I always have to stay very focused. It's easy to miss one of them, and in some cases you don't notice until later, until the item is actually used, and you don't want to lose your run like 1 hour into it. That's really bitter. Let me give you some more detail about the items that I pick up. So first of all, we have Moxie Gem. You can use it all the time. It gives you like 1 more heart. Ancient Potion, which heals 1 lost heart, and it gives HP refill to the healed monster. And this in return also creates some kinship energy, so a very useful item. And there's some strategies where I will just use Ancient Potion to fill up my kinship gauge. Mega Potion, Healing Potion, we actually don't need it, but there's a quest where we have to create some potions, craft some potions, and so by having them already in the inventory, the quest is done immediately. Sonic Bombs, it throws monsters to the ground that are weak to this, and then we can sweep them very easily. Shock Trap and Pitfall Trap, used for either very difficult fights or fights where I have a lot of kinship energy. And Paw Pass Tickets, used for the early Paw Pass Ticket exploit and to save travel time. Coming up is the very first fight of the game, and I made some visualization for you. First of all, we have the difficulty, which ranges from 1 to 10, where 1 is the easiest, autopilot, no danger fight in the game, and 10 is the most difficult, very dangerous run-ending fight. And now here is the reason why we are using the Japanese version. For some reason, both in NTC and PAL, this text here is read in a very slow manner, and only in the Japanese version we're getting the fast text. There is some downside with the Japanese version, as I already explained and said, and when it happens I will explain it to you further. So this is very much a autopilot fight. First turn we have to pick power, and second turn we have to choose blue, and that's it. Next up is Velocity Prey, another tutorial fight, and this one is 2 turns as well. In some very rare cases, Velocidrome can get priority in the second turn and hit Velocity Prey first, which in some cases ends the fight immediately and saves some little time. But here it doesn't happen, so let me continue on the items. We have White License, heals 1 heart, Dust of Life, Team Healing, very useful in situations where I would lose a heart in the next turn, and it gives me kinship energy on top of that. And last but not least, Nullberry Elixir, which gets rid of every status effect imaginable. And I'm going to use it as a backup in case either my special attacks get blocked or my bull drum gets paralyzed. Here comes the next cool feature of the game, because all of the cutscenes are in-game. As you could see, one of those monsters photobombed us, and so sometimes I'm really getting cool shots. Then here I have to be careful, there's some text popping up, and usually this one, it jumps over me, because this is why I call this one the jumper, but sometimes you get unlucky and it runs into you. For the other two, Velocitrum, I'm running as close as possible to the left edge to reduce the odds of having an encounter with them. But here they spawn in a difficult pattern, and in the last second possible I turn around to avoid getting a sneak attack, which means that it takes longer to initiate the fight. And upon entering this cave, there's one other enemy that I have to be aware of. It's a Conchu, and they can sometimes roll themselves into very unfortunate positions, like this one here. In this room I pick up level 2 kinship stone, which lets me control monsters of higher obedience. And for the upcoming fight there's a lot of funny quirks. So first of all, because I have access to items that I shouldn't have at this point, one of them being sonic bombs, I actually can use them on this fight and throw this one down to the ground, like I do. I actually don't know if it saves time, but it's cool. The other cool thing is something we don't see here in this speedrun, so I'm just going to explain it. So this is a tutorial to explain the kinship leveling and the final kinship attack. And when we're riding the monster in this fight, it doesn't matter if I pick a speed attack, a technical attack, or a power attack, because in this final riding the monster showdown phase, either which attack I pick, it will always pick the option that is weak to this one. The third and last weird thing about this fight is, for some reason it resets my animation speed, and this is the only fight in the whole game where it happens. And in the way it happens, I believe the developers of this game messed something up. And the second time where we have the option to save, but on the mobile version, due to autosave, doesn't matter and we don't need to save anyway. Just wanna say sorry for using all the filling words and so. I'm not a native speaker of the English language, which you can already hear by my strong German accent. So I apologize for this, and I hope you can still enjoy this commentary. Now here, another filling word. I'm going to use the power charm, which gives me 15% more attack damage. Of course, I want this in a speedrun. And after leaving Hakum, well, in Germany we call it Hakum. I don't know how your Englishmen call it. Following is a quest where we pick up an Neptunov's egg, and just to give you a perspective of how weak Neptunov is, it's very good to compare it to a Magikarp in Pokemon. And this monster would be utterly useless for the speedrun, if not for its potential possession of a power gene. So I can get a guaranteed power gene from a battle network monster, but when I get a Neptunov hatch with a power gene, I don't have to get this battle network monster, which saves me, I believe, 10 to 20 seconds, which is huge. And It's purely random if I get one. And after leaving this den, I'm going to use this speedrun's only exploit. This speedrun is very vanilla in every sense. So there's Power Pass tickets and they allow you to fast travel. In my very early days of picking up this speedrun, I did a run and I clicked on the wrong menu because I think I wanted to use a potion or something else. And I ended up clicking on the Power Pass ticket. And I just entered the menu for a quick time and pressed the back button. But at this moment I saw that the 2 Catavan spots were available. But I ignored it and proceeded with the run. But it stuck in my head, and the next day I was looking at it again, and this is how I found the exploit. Right here, and easy to forget about. We have to get a side quest, which will give us the ability guard. We have to show this NPC a herbivore egg, and in return we get guard, an ability that lets our character nullify any damage dealt for 1 turn, which is super useful in the late game if we get in a very tricky situation. Next up I'm checking and hatching my Aptonoth and looking if it has a power gene. And after this I'm releasing it from the team because I don't want to see its level up animation every time it gets some EXP. And after this I'm getting ready for the Arceus fight. Before this I have to complete another quest, which is crafting 10 potions. Since I already have 10 potions from QR codes, I simply speak to Dan, otherwise I had to collect 10 herbs and 10 blue mushrooms. Fortunately I don't have to. So more about the exploit. So I can actually enter Pondry Hills even before I should, and I can even approach the first fight, which is Aptonoth, but the model is loaded, but I can't interact with it. So I walk there and I walk through the Aptonoth. I can also go to the cave where I level up my kinship stone. Here another time where I use the Power Pass ticket to get to Pondry Hills. So I can get to the cave, and if I go there the game crashes and soft locks. No, it only soft locks. The third thing I can do is walk through Whistle Forest. Normally there's a barrier, but this barrier is only erected after entering Pondry Hills legally. So I can go till the room where Nagakuga is, and then there's a barrier, so I can't progress. And unfortunately Nagakuga isn't loaded, and even more unfortunate, there is another Catavan stand that I can activate, and it would save time because I have to go into this forest a lot of times, but since at this early at the game I can only walk, and walking is so slow, it's actually faster to go from the spot I just came rather than going into the forest early, activating the spot. So that's really like an elusive exploit and very, very sad. With Arceus we want our Velocitron to pull off speed attacks every turn, so we can max out our damage with team attacks like shown here. And at the same time I'm going for the speed power combo on my greatsword in the third turn, and optimally this is where the fight ends. Arceus is a power spirited monster, and Velocitron is a speed type monster, so this fight is in our favor. Azeroth has a attack which it pulls off, I think, at the third turn, which is Honey Power, or either this Claw attack where it spins around. And you don't want to get Honey Power because it can heal and extend the fight. But this one went really well. So back to the exploit. So the thing why this game is really unbroken is that it has a really brutal story flag system. So as long as a story flag isn't set, you can't progress in the game. So I'm using the pauper tickets to shortcut our paths. But I have to please every story flag, otherwise I couldn't continue. Another stupid thing about this, so I just went to the forest, right? And the game brings me back to the city and then just lets me walk to the forest again, just to torture me for no reason. Also with this pauper ticket use, you have to be careful. First you want to leave Hakum to Pondry Hills, and then you want to use the pauper tickets, because if you're going to use the pauper ticket from Hakum, then you're getting spawned in Pondry Hills, but at the entry to Hakum, because the game plays out a text box that warps you close to the entry to Hakum. Another reason why early Whistle Forest doesn't work out is because we have two cutscenes here. You see, the Whistle Forest catavan is very close to where the fight with Iodrum happens. So if it only were like this, then we would probably save time. But since we have to go to the first cutscene and then go back to where Iodrum actually is, it doesn't save time. So for this fight there's not much strategy rather than to attack. With my character I'm going for the tech speed combo. Iodrum has a speed nature of course and has the tendency to go for a power move after pulling off 2 speed moves. And my hope for this fight is that I get a lot of encounters with Iodrum, because Velocitron's and Iodrum's nature are matching, are equally. Only by having a player to monster confrontation I can squeeze out more damage. And I don't want Iodrum to use the poison spit as much, because whenever I win a confrontation, that's good for me. And I want to get a high rank on this fight, because this fight drops poison bags, and I need 4 poison bags to craft my Raytheon sword, which is also very elemental to the run and very essential to the run. Okay, we need to talk about Dance Fight. Dance Fight is a tutorial fight, which gives you more freedom than the other tutorial fights, and it really pisses me off, because no matter how good you perform at this fight, it's always 4 turns and it's pure RNG. So in the first turn you need to hope that your Velocitron pulls off a power move, because then will always attack with tech, because he knows that my monster is weak to it, and his monsters for the first 2 turns they will always go for power, so I can go with speed on my character, and in the third turn they will turn to power. So the fight is very foreseeable but not very controllable for me, at least on the side of Velocitron. And in this fight you only save time by getting like the best animations, e.g. getting like a team attack or something like this. So here I'm lucky, I'm getting the win over Dan in the first turn, and I get a team attack, which is nice. So this fight is 4 turns because Dan has to perform certain things, like change his teammate, use a healing item, and stuff like this. And then this is the 4th turn, and I can finally win this fight. And as you noticed, on the 3rd turn I would have already killed, but due to this game's shenanigans I only could finish at the 4th turn. And now we're entering a segment where I pick up the online battle monsters. So I use a purpose ticket to move to Hakem. Every time I use a purpose ticket, the game autosaves. And now I leave the game. And after finishing the PvP tutorial, now I can get the PvP monsters, which are Lagombi for speed and attack power. So it's going to be my next main monster. And I need to get how's it called? Catch a Watcher as well, because I didn't got the power gene on Atonov. So losing time here. I'm getting from each kind 9 pieces. The mathematics behind it are very complex and they have to do with the collector's problem. And the mathematics are too high for me. But just from testing I know that 9 fragments is enough. And later in the run I will also get the Clavinus fragments. And so by having some more fragments on my account is good, because then I don't have to pick up so much Clavinus fragments if I'm in a hurry. So for assembling eggs, for Catch a Watcher it doesn't matter, because it's a special egg and Catch a Watcher always has the same set of genes. Important to me is in the lower left corner the power gene, but Lagombi is a normal egg, and every time you make a line made of from the same color, you get a colored bingo, and there's a bingo animation and it takes longer, but here I get no bingo animation. Very lucky this time, because usually I just assemble because looking, I think it takes longer to look. And then I'm getting to the part where I actually have to repair the Catawin, like I'm intended to do. And here I'm using the level up on the Gombi. So from the QR codes I get 10 Queenly Paella and I think 30 Kingly Steak. I'm using 3 of those Queenly Paellas on Velocitron to get it to level 14, which is the minimum to do the fights on a good amount of turns. And then I'm using the rest of the Queenly Paellas on Lagombi. Here I'm not taking a pass to this spot immediately, because there's another text box I need to trigger, and after this I can take the spot like you have seen here. And with Lagombi I get the ability to dash, which of course saves a lot of time, and in the best case I would get Lagombi much earlier, but because it only unlocks after defeating Dan, I can only get it from after this fight, and it's not Lagombi's default ability, which would be something like rock crushing, but because this is a special Lagombi, from Battle Network. It has a special ability, and on iOS the Battle Network is still up, meaning iOS is the slower version and Android is the fastest version for all versions of Monster Hunter Stories, even outplaying 3DS. For this fight, it's very easy. We want to throw a Sonic Bomb in the first turn on the head, then hopefully get lucky because it's random if it falls or not. Here it trips. And then just attack. Then it retreats. And we do the same thing again. Since I have some spare time now, let me say something more about the egg fragments. So for every completion of the Battle Network, you get 3 pieces of egg fragments, which could be the same piece, or it could be 3 different pieces, or it could be like 2 pieces who are the same and 1 is different. So in theory, you could get a full egg, from which you need like 9 pieces to assemble in 3 completions, but this is very unlikely, so I get 9. And when you assemble an egg made from different species, like different egg fragments, then the probability of a certain monster to hatch is directly correlated to the number of egg fragments used from a certain species. So late in the run I want to hatch Clavinus, so the more Clavinus fragments I use, the more likely it is that Clavinus hatches. But since it's a mixed egg, also the Gombi could hatch again, or Catcher Watcher could hatch again. The reason why I'm getting a Lagombi, of course, it has high power and it has dash. In earlier runs I was actually using all of my Quinnipias on Velocidron, and I had to switch the Monsti for every fight, but this proved to be very inefficient, and now I'm splitting the Quinnipias and giving the great portion to Lagombi. Also from like attack damage you could also use the blue Yankutku that you get from Battle Network as well, and it would have advantage against the Lagombi fight with its fire element, but then you would have to switch again, and Lagombi is just more powerful and the best option we can get. So what we have. I forgot one thing. I told you that the Japanese version is the fastest version, and there's only one downside to it, and it already happened, but I'm going to explain it anyway. So in the Japanese version we can get one more Monsti from Battle Network, which is called Kumashira. It's a black Arceros, and it's a popular figure in Japan, but not in the rest of the world, so it's JPN exclusive. It has a soul binding gene on the maximum capability, which would be super useful for the run. Soul binding gives you more kinship energy for every time you win a confrontation, I believe. But since it's a very special monster, we can't transfer its genes. And now to the problem. Kumashira is the first battle set that we find in Battle Network. So every time we want to retrieve some egg fragments, we have to get over it. It's in our way, and every time we want to get some egg fragments, we have to do one more press, which is losing time. So that's the downside I mentioned. Here I'm intentionally targeting the mineral because I want to trigger the cut text box so that I can progress first it's the shortest way, and second there's another mineral coming up, and this room I don't want to stop again, so I just take it here. And now I'm on the way to Nagakuga 2, which is the first more difficult fight in the game, but it's not really that difficult. Basically, you want to throw 2 sonic bombs and hope that they get it down, because it's random if it falls or not. And Nagakuga has a tendency to target the player, which is good for us because then we have more control in this fight. With the cheer up ability on my character, I can give a 15% damage boost to the attacking monster. So as soon as I get my Lagombi, I will only use cheer up in most cases, because I can squeeze out more damage like that. In this fight, however, I'm engaging with my character in the hope of, like here, the sonic bomb doesn't connect, so just in the hope that I can make it fall by winning free interaction, or at least, because you can lose a life here easily and the dying animation is very slow, so at least I'm trying to avoid to die. So 1 out of 2 sonic bombs connected, so it's an average fight, I would say. And also this one likes to go for power attack sometimes, so it's more or less predictable. And here's that, yeah. After defeating Nagakuga, this is where the demo ends and the real game starts, for me at least, because like most of the previous fights were tutorial, except Arceus, Nagakuga the second, and Iodrome. So in the next area, I just want to make sure that I take the straightest and best lines to get from point A to point B, and I also don't want to trigger this Catavan stand here. So because the text is in Japanese, I can read katakana and hiragana, but not in this like fast manner, so I'm just memorizing the position of a Catavan stand that I want to visit with fast travel. So if I add other Catavan spot into the mix, then position of stuff changes and I might click the wrong stuff. One might think, okay, we have a Power Pass ticket in our inventory and now I need to trigger this one cutscene, so let's skip Lagombi. And of course I thought of that, and the thing is, in this cave you can't use Catavan tickets. Always want to make sure that you pick up this treasure. It contains a hot mist, and if you don't activate the hot mist, then in every fight that is happening in a cold area, you can get freezing, which means it's another word for paralyzation, so you can't act, so you can't attack or do any special move. And here we go for Lagombi. Lagombi is also weak to to sonic bombs, and it also is by chance. So I hope for a 2-2 sonic bomb fall on this one. And we have a mirror matchup in this case. And both have a speedy nature. The Gombi in general does focus our monster more. The reason why I rate the Gombi as the first level 3 difficulty fight is that it has a attack which can cause us to be blocked from the usage of special attacks like cheer up or other moves. After leaving the cave, since all cutscenes are rendered in-game, if I'm lucky I can see the first den, because from now on the next goal is to get a Buldrum egg. Here we're seeing a golden den, and you might think, okay, it's a golden den, perfect. But actually golden dens should be avoided, because golden dens, to get to the nest, you have to transition through 2 random rooms, whilst in blue or normal dens, you only have to go through 1 room. And the major benefit with golden dens is that you get more slots and more genes on them, but from the stat side, they're kind of the same like normal dens, and so it's not really worth it. And even from normal dens, by chance you can also get a golden Buldrum, and so you should never go into a golden den. Only if it's the like last den, because it can happen that there's no den spawning on our way to the hot springs inn, or as I call them, the huts. And the last den you can get is very close to this, I don't know how to call it, staircase. In the best case, I have a sleeping Buldrum in this nest area, which I have, because whenever there's a monster in the nest area, it's more likely that the eggs of this certain monster are being in the egg pool. And now I get, first try, I get the Buldrum egg, because it can also happen that I don't get any Buldrum egg and have to enter another cave. So first try egg is the best you can get. And for this fight with the Zamites, they're like autopilot, you just want to hit him with any attack and they will die. You just want to get the fast animations from them. In the Hot Springs Inn, there's actually a marketplace where I can buy more of Paw Pass tickets. But since with the 10 Paw Pass tickets I already get from QR codes, I squeeze out most of the time saves, and buying some of those tickets also takes some time. According to my calculations, you only might save 1 to 2 seconds by buying 3 more cat events, and only if you're doing the perfect menuing. So I decided against using it in my runs because of the reason of consistency. At this time in the run, I'm feeding my 30 kidney steaks to Buldrum, and that's just enough to make it go up to level 39. I don't know if I can dispense my level up items more efficiently, because I could give more of them to Lagombi. But here's the thing, Lagombi, I only use it for 2 fights that matter, which is Lagombi and Nagakuga II. So, in my opinion, it's probably better to give it to Buldrum, for the reason that I'm using Buldrum for the whole rest of the game. In case I didn't get any Buldrum egg from the previous landscape, then I can get it here as a backup. But with the time being on the world record, you would have to reset here probably, or your chances of getting a record would be very slim. This place explains why I haven't thrown out Velocitron out of my team yet, because I need it for this one action, and after that I can expose it out of my team. Okay, Zemtrios, you want to finish it in 2 turns, but it only works if you're getting good RNG. So first turn you want to get a team attack, and second turn you want to do the Buldrum charge plus cheer up on your character, and that's it. So Buldrum charge is the strongest attack that we can use in the speedrun. It inflicts a lot of physical damage. It's a power attack, and it also puts damage on Buldrum, which is great because then we can heal and gain more kinship energy by healing. But here I do a mistake by changing the monster, probably some misclicking, and so I get a slow Zemtrius, which is all on my account. If you forget to activate the Catavan spot close to the Wintertide tunnel, you can actually run down the cliff and take it from there as a backup strat. But here I did my best work and everything is fine. Just for you to know. For the second and last mirror fight in the game, I follow a very simple strategy. So in the first turn I use a healing item to gain kinship energy, and for the rest of the fight I would use Buldrum charge plus cheer up, and that's it. And good thing about this bull drum is that it often goes for technical attacks, so I can squeeze out even more damage. Even with a full kinship meter, you always want to do the bull drum charge, because it just does more damage, and the only reason to go for the kinship attack or kinship riding is when you are in an emergency situation, because you can't die when riding a monster. You only can die when you're being thrown off the monster, and then damage on the hearts can be inflicted upon you. My personal reason for not using the traditional splits timer like other speedrunners do is that I want to put my whole focus on the game and not press some buttons, add some segments, and therefore I use some visual indicators. For example, like when I'm being here and I'm looking on the timer, then I want to see a 50, and in that way I know that I'm in a good timing spot. I know maybe like if there's more competition in the future, I might change to splits, or like to see how much potential the run still has. But for me it's just putting me under a lot of pressure to see like what time you gain, what time you lose. I think it's just stressful, and I just like this simple way of timing it. And still I could get a lot of records even without the traditional splits. From the rite of passage, I want to get a power bingo, which means 3 power genes in a row. And I can get 2 power genes from gems that are received from QR code. But for the third power gene, it can be either on Bull Drum itself, on Aptonov, if I get lucky, or it's on my catcher watcher in the left bottom corner. So by creating the bingo slot, I have to make sure that the power gene is on the line. And my second goal for the rite of passage is to get rid of Bull Drum's blue gene, which contains the attack Reckless Tackle. So Reckless Tackle is also a very powerful attack, but it only has a hit or miss rate of 50. And so game sometimes can pick a random attack from my special abilities for no cost, and by taking out Reckless Tackle from this list, there's only 3 attacks left, so the chances of Bull Drum's charge to get picked are getting higher, and I remove a inconsistent attack. Then I remove Velocitron from the team to avoid its level up animation, but Lagombi has to stay on the team because I will need its overworld ability one more time in the overworld, and when it happens I will tell you. Bull is a bit faster than Lagombi in the moving speed, but it takes a little bit more time to start. And here comes a section that's a bit tricky to maneuver, especially because Bull has a very stiff control, and it's meant to be in that way to reflect on Bull's stubborn personality or temperament. Upon entering an area, every foe has a spawning destination, but then from the spawning destination they take on random movement, so sometimes they can be in your way and sometimes you get lucky and they're rolling in the opposite direction of where they would mess with you. Kazu is a level 3 difficulty fight for the sole reason that it can paralyze you, but other than that the fight is very similar to Bull. Monsters with more than one body part, you always want to target anything but the body or the most dangerous part of the body. For example, with Lagiatus, this would be the tail. What you're seeing to the right was a barricade. They can give you high amounts of EXP, but for QR code runs I don't need them, and they just can stand in very unfortunate positions. But here I can avoid them, but there's one when I'm revisiting Pondry Hills where it can stand on the bridge, and this can be pretty annoying to dodge. At this location I'm being prevented from using Power Pass tickets as well, this is why I'm taking the walk. For all monsters that are rate level 3 difficulty, they're all cakewalks on their own, but they all have a twist where they can mess you up with one of their attacks, and you just praying that they don't pull it on you in your run. And for Royal Ludroth, it's all the same. It's a very short fight, and it has a attack that especially when pulled on Bullrum, it can't perform its special action, and then you need to use Nullberry Elixir and lose one turn. Not using Ancient Potion in this fight because it makes no difference. It's in the best case over after 3 turns, and you're just being safer by using the Cheer Up in the first turn. Interesting fun fact, there is a way to retrieve your Lagombiac much earlier. First of all, you start a new file, then you continue your file until you hit your Aptonofek, and then you make an intentional save. You continue the file until you reach Dance Fight completed and go to the battle network where you get your egg fragments. And then you pull the egg fragments and you go to your intentional save file with the Aptonov egg. And then when you look into your stable, you actually can see that you got the egg fragments despite not having finished Dance Fight on this version in time. And then you can get your Lagombi 2 fights earlier than intended, but it's not allowed in any percent, or it is allowed, but it would take more time. And if it would be a different category where you would start off of a save file like this, it would be anything but any percent. But yeah, that's an interesting fact to know. At this bridge you can pull off a very well-known trick, which involves a flying monster. Then you run towards the bridge and start the flying sequence. And if you're getting a good timing, then you're flying off into the out of bounds area, and then you can enter the available areas from out of bounds. But since the time when we get the flying monster or the flying ability, we have already unlocked all the areas, therefore it is for no use. It would be interesting if we would find a setup for the snowfield, but at the current time there's no such setup found. Be careful when moving around in this area. If you fall down into the spider's web, then you have to get up in a very complicated manner, and it basically results in an instant reset. Niskala has a tech, putting you to sleep. It generally likes to switch between either green or red attacks. Therefore, I'm only using cheer up on my character and letting Bulldrum do all the work. In the best case, you get 2 turns in the first phase and 2 turns after the second phase. And this one is again very RNG decided. If it pulls off its sleep attack or not. The upcoming fight is a level 4 difficulty, because I need to take care of getting a good rank, because I need Raytheon material for the Raytheon sword. The Raytheon sword has a poison ability, and poison can inflict a lot of damage on several turns on certain monsters, or even paralyze some monsters such as Uragan. The difficulty in this fight is that Raytheon has 2 body parts, and if you choose the wrong body part, then you don't get a head-to-head interaction. And you need them, and you need to have winning head-to-head interactions to get a good rank. So you always have to make the right decision under the pressure of time. First of all, I'm taking out Kuropeko. Kuropeko will go for an attack that buffs the party, giving it more attack power. And after that, I'm taking sure to pick the right body parts on Raytheon and getting a good rank. Cautious, another very easy to miss Catalan spot that you definitely wanna hit. After leaving Oasim, I can choose between either Barov or Daimyo Hermitor, and I go for Barov first because with the line I'm taking I can trigger the Dragonbone Path Ketawan and then return to it and go for Daimyo Hermitor. If I would go for Daimyo first, I must go for a curved line, and with Buldrum this would be quite more difficult to do, so Barov is first. Barov is a monster that can pull off. Oh, cool, we have a barrel cat in the cutscene, that's cool. It can pull off an attack where it throws some sand on us, and in the worst case it can affect both party members from blocking their usage of special abilities. So I'm trying to trap this one, and when it's trapped I can't gain kinship energy from interactions. So as long as I have kinship energy I go for Chia, and as soon as I'm being down to a low level I'm going to heal my Buldrum, but here I get a tapping interaction. It refills my kinship energy and then I can finish it off like that. Do not get lost on Catalan location picks. I can either scroll down and take the latest spot if it's a new Catalan spot, or if it's a spot that I will revisit, I can go to the right top corner and go for the area menu and then choose the location by position. By position I remember. Daimyo Hermitor is a very easy fight. You are using Buldrum Charge after going in with a Sonic Bomb, and after this it's pretty much finished. Here I commit a mistake, but I didn't know when this run happened, but going from Sandstorm Hill is 2 seconds slower than going from Dragonbone Path. I give Cephadrome a 6, and you might wonder why. So Cephadrome is a monster that is weak to sonic bombs as well, and like other monsters, sonic bombs only inflict by chance. And if you're getting very unlucky, you throw 2 sonic bombs and it dodges them, and then it will start to burrow itself in the sand, and it will cost you a lot of time. It only happened to me once, but the one time it happened to me, it was a run ender. So in the most cases, this fight will be over very quick, but when bad things happen, this monster will kill your run. For this fight, the same strategy like the barrel of before. Set trap. If you are on a low level of kinship energy, heal. And that's about it. Diablos is actually a very easy fight to pull off. It has a power nature, so its attacks are very predictable, and it follows a very certain pattern. So after receiving some amount of damage, it will burrow itself in the ground, and this is when it gets weak to sonic bombs. So I would attack, cheer up, throw sonic bombs, and then further attack. And I don't need to heal because I will get a guaranteed tapping interaction just like that. And from this I get my kinship energy and can finish off this job very consistently. And so the world record is 1:21:11, a time that can easily go under 1:21. I did commit some minor mistakes such as Samtrios or getting stuck on some edges when moving around, so this will be very easy to break, at least for an experienced player. witnessed the sole reason why I'm still having a Lagombi in my team. I need its Rock Crusher ability that it actually doesn't have, because this one has dashing. But for some reason the game only checks, okay, is it Lagombi? Okay, yes, then it can break the rock. And that's a good thing. And now I'm getting into the most difficult and, or let's say most busy part of the run, where I have to take care of a lot of things in a very short amount of time. So the game wants me to send my felines on an exploration mission for 10 minutes. And in this 10 minutes period, I will do anything to prepare myself for the late game. You wanna choose the hasty option, which is 10 minutes. Normally it's 20 minutes, and after this I immediately go to Gildegaran. There I want to pick up another 8 QR codes, and there's 2 additional QR codes that I can get. First of them contains the Dragon Aura Jewel, which grants me Dragon Aura, which gives me all elemental resistance. And the other one is another Fang Beast Stimulator, in case I want to apply a gene onto my bull drum and don't have any more slots. But usually this is never the case, and most of the QR codes are being used for selling. And as you just witnessed, I actually went to the shop first because I thought something, but not the right thing, and I forgot to pick up the QR codes first, which you should always do. So a little time loss here. After selling stuff, which is mostly amulets, materials and stimulators, I want to buy 2 paintballs. Explanation follows. And I want to buy 12 more Corpus tickets from the shop. Things I don't want to sell is Fang Beast Stimulator and Universal Stimulator, because I need them for my bull drum. There's lots of cool genes, and I will try to go for some of them to enhance my chances of pulling off faster fights. From the forge I will get the Raytheon sword with poison effect, for which I need poison bags from Iodrome and Raytheon material from Raytheon, of course. And I will get the Hunter's Armor, which has the effect of order cost down. So normally Bull Drum Charge costs 15 kinship energy, and with this ability it only costs 14, so I'm saving a lot of little amounts of kinship energy that are mounting up, and in the end I can pull off more Bull Drum charges on average. Then I get a barrel bomb, and I can only get one from the black market here. I donate 1 finding charm to the prayer spot. This will increase my chances of encountering a rare monster stand for 30 minutes. And now I will head to Trees Desert to go for either a black Diablos or a normal Diablos in the best case. So I go by the Sandstorm Hills, There's a location where Black Diablos can spawn, and here I get a golden down immediately and rush for this one. So I will have to transverse 2 rooms and hope for a good pattern and not getting an encounter. So genes, let me start what Bulldrum already could have. Bulldrum can have a Warlock gene +1 or +2, which means in every head-to-head interaction, if I'm going to lose, I'm going to get dealt more damage, and if I win, I'm dealing more damage. So the reason I'm going for Black Diablos is the head-to-head gene. So every time I win a head-to-head, I gain more kinship energy from this gene. Black Diablos can have critical eye small and medium. The same for Diablos. Diablos, on the other hand, can have the potential gene, which means when I'm being on low HP, I'm dealing more damage. But Black Diablos is more favorable for me. And if I don't get neither one of them, then I have some backup monsters that I would get in desert as well. One of them is Barov. It has the unscathed gene, so as long as I'm not taking any damage, I will deal more damage to other monsters. I can get the soul binding gene on Aptonov, which is very rare. I can get the evasion gene from Cephadrom, which in some cases I can avoid getting attacked. I can get the attack power gene from either Aptonov or Apsaros. But here's the thing, every Clavinus has a Clavinus gene, and the Clavinus gene includes an attack up medium. I can also get a quick L, which sometimes I get priority in attacking. There's another gene that I ruled out, which is the survivor gene from Gypsaros. So when I'm losing hearts, my defense and attack increases. The thing why I ruled it out is because it's very hard to get it. It's a very rare gene. And yeah, that's about it. So in this run I get the Diablos, and I'm already knowing that I'm a bit short in time. So I'm looking on my translation of the gene here in this run, and then I will apply the thing that I think suits the run the most. So I take the risk of not getting Clavinus in this run, because I mix in 2 other egg pieces. As you can see, there's only 2 minutes left, and still a bunch of things I have to do. I need to donate 10,000 Zeni on the praying pot to get attack up by 15% and a higher growth rate of my monsties. I need to apply the genes on my Bulldrum, and I also, if I still have time, I can try to go for the Raven Sword, which I fell short of because I was missing some materials. If I had more time, in the Trees Desert I could collect some ore and upgrade my Hunter's Armor. In this run I went with the Bone Chris as my sword, which is my backup weapon, because you can buy it in the shop, so it's easily available. from the Monsterpedia, I could get nutriments, vital nutriments, strength and defense nutriments to increase stats on my monsters. About my armor, there's one thing to say. I'm taking a greater risk with the Hunter's armor. In previous runs I was using Casual's armor to have a strong electric defense. One of the strongest monsters that we will encounter in this run is Kirin and also Zinogre, but Zinogre I have it under control, so it's mostly Kirin. Indicated by the red text box, I have lost time here, and it's very hard, but you can pull off all of those aforementioned tasks in the 10 minutes time limit, although it's very difficult and you need to have a lot of training to do it in this time. In general, the menuing in this game is its worst aspect in my opinion. And now that we have some spare time, I will get the flying ability now. I want to talk about my motivations of running this game and how I became the world record holder. So I started playing this game because of the Zelda content, to be honest. And every time when I finish a game, I'm very excited to see the speedrun and its strategies and how people cut things short. So at this time, the world record for Makili Pietro was 8 hours. And I started to watch the run. It was done by Telerate. And to be fair, it's a very great run because he wasn't using QR codes. But it also was done in a very casual manner, and I immediately noticed that there was a lot of things to improve. So I looked down the rules because I thought, okay, he's not using QR codes, maybe they're banned, but they weren't. And so I always wanted to do a run on myself, but I never did find a game that suited me. Or when there was games that I found nice, they already had like super professional leaderboards with extreme frame perfect tricks that take you a lot of time to learn. And also I want to do the routing for myself because I think this is a very exciting part of speedrunning. It almost excites me more than doing the actual runs, to be honest. And then about last year in 2022, when I was in Hawaii, I did my first run with very bad audio quality and streaming quality in general in an Airbnb in Hawaii, and the time was 4 hours and 30 minutes, something like that, in that regard. And my original goal was to get world record and then leave it be, but then I had more and more ideas for routing, and I become very drawn to the game, and now I really like it, and I want to do more runs. Just one thing to notice, so from here you want to start from the Sandstorm Hill, because if you go here from Dragonbone Path, it will cost 10 seconds. And yeah, and I returned with more strategies and I learned more about the game. And then I finally decided, okay, I want to take this game under 3 hours if it's possible. Now it's under 3 hours, and I noticed, okay, it's 2 hours 59 and 12 seconds. At the moment, I have a lot of games on my playlist. So for the next months, I'm not going to run the game. Just to take some break time, and then probably in winter or on Christmas time I will return and go under 259 to the 258 time, which is very plausible and very possible to do. For me, it's very hard to make commentary. I'm fluent in English when I'm talking to a different person, but when I'm sitting in a run or like doing commentary, sometimes I need very specific words to describe very specific terms, and also it's very hard to come up with things. You know, there's this boomer cliche that streaming isn't real work because people are just playing video games and talking, and everyone can do that. But when you're sitting and you're trying to come up with interesting topics, it's hard not to just repeat yourself and entertain your viewers properly. Probably I need to practice. I was thinking about taking part in a German speedrunning event, but the dates didn't fit my schedule. But maybe next year I can do it, because German is my native language, so it will be much easier for me to comment. Uragan, my next foe. Normally I have a great advantage having the Raytheon sword, but I fell short of it, and now I only have the bone crisp. So normally you want to get in a head-to-head interaction with Uragan and then poison it. And Uragan can get paralyzed from poisoning. But since I have a different weapon, the Bone Chris, I need to adapt my strategy, so I will go for the Cheer Up plus Speed Charge general strat, which basically applies for every monster. Also, this is my rehydration cutscene. Takes very long. Grab a drink and stretch your muscles and your body. Walk around. A question that I see very often on Reddit or other platforms is, should I get the latest version of the Japanese release? My answer to that is yes, of course you should. So, for unfortunate reasons, the West has been cut short for this game. The Japanese version has a lot more content. The Japanese get Kumashira, the Black Arceros, which is a reference to Kumamon, a character created to enhance tourism in the Kumamoto region in Japan. They get the Tower of Remembrance, which is boss refights from the story. The Twin Towers, which is fights with characters from the anime. And the normal Tower of Illusion, which is included in the Western version. In addition to that, in the Japanese version you can get Fiostra and Kujada Daora. And I'm not totally sure on this, but I think you can also get Rajan as a monster, which is like super stupid that they didn't port those updates to the West. Yorgan. Best I've seen is a 4-1, which means 4 turns spent on Yorgan and 1 turn spent on destroying one of its stones. So Yorgan can make stones explode, and when you defeat Yorgan, then those stones will explode automatically, so you want to take them down before that happens. I have forgotten to take out a Gombi from my team because I was so stressed out with the 10-minute arrangement sign, and hopefully, yeah, let's see if I fix this in this run or not. Let's see. At the moment, because Rayphilos is leveling up, it doesn't cause any harm, but if I don't get rid of it by the end of the game, then it will bleed some seconds. It's a pity that I have to skip all of those cutscenes. The game's cel shading look makes it a very astonishing and beautiful game to me. Like, The Wind Waker is an all-time classic. This game's graphic hold up to the test of time in my opinion. And this game is massively overshadowed by its successor, Monster Hunter Stories Wings of Ruins. A game that I honestly never played. But from what I've heard, this game is much harder in difficulty, which I prefer. And when you're looking, or when you're trying to do research on this game, often you get recommended websites that are for the second installment. And this game is massively overlooked if you ask me. But I do understand that from an accessibility reasons, most people would prefer a Switch PC thing over a Nintendo 3DS and Android or iOS thing. For this fight you want to do it in 2 turns, and you have to make sure to use cheer up in every turn and use speed charge in the second turn, otherwise you will not make it damage wise. In the early game you get healed everywhere from events and cutscenes, but in this area you get no healing, and your healing always needs to be your concern, because when you're going into Agnector you want to have 3 hearts, otherwise all the cool strats are going to a very risky level, and you don't want to do that.
Maneiro.
This fight, first round, Aptonov will spit some fire, beat charge and power up. Simple thing. And if you're still needing a heart, then heal here. It's a good opportunity to squeeze it in without using any turns. Barov is the monster that we are seeing and fighting the most in the run. And for its last time, the strategies changed drastically. This time we don't want to use any traps, and at the end of the fight we want to leave it with 3 hearts on our account. So I give it a 4, because you have to exactly know when it will die and when you gotta heal. With good RNG, you can finish off this fight without any healing, but an experienced player should know when to heal and when the soup is getting too spicy, if you know what I mean. Made the right decision to go for the small charge in the first round. Got an tapping interaction, and now I'm squeezing out my beat charges on this one. And because I have the type advantage, I don't have to worry about my kinship energy. What I have to worry about is a connector's team attack, which can take my character out just like that. And now I'm being down to 2 hearts. And I know this interaction could lose me another heart. I predicted it. Because sometimes it goes to speed. And for the rest of this fight I can just be very aggressive and finish this one off. Cheval is a very undemanding fight. You beat charge, you power up, and you hope that for at least one time he is using a tech attack on you so that you can squeeze out more damage. The open volcano is another good time marker for me. I wanna leave it in under 2 hours, and then I know I'm in a good spot for a good run. The fascinating thing with the old lady is that, unlike all other important story NPCs, she only one time gets a skippable text cutscene. For anyone wondering why I don't take a Pauper's ticket to this catavan here, well, always consider there's a loading time and some menuing, so it's actually faster to walk here. And here we are at the best section of the game, because this is pure RNG and there's no way to help it, so you need to collect 4 Gargoyle feathers, and you can get it from the first one, but it can also take you 3 gargoyles, and any of those fights costs you a lot of time. They have the most weirdest hitboxes in the whole game, and additionally they can come in a pack of 1 or in a pack of 2, and they have enough HP so that you have to use Bull Drum Charge or any attack plus your cheer up, otherwise you can't take them down in one turn, and then they will run away, which means you're losing even more time. Now that I have progressed into this forest, I'm progressing further until I get to this catavan spot here, because I need to return to this spot one more time, and I save some backtracking here. With Catcher Watcher, it is the last fight before I enter the spicy spike of difficulty in this game. And it's also the last monster that is weak to sonic bombs, so I will make great use of that. This fight would be a 2, if not for the fact that if I lose a heart here, I have to squeeze in a healing item, so there's one more thing to take care of, and therefore I consider it a level 3 difficulty. From this shop I need to buy surrogate gems. They negate all damage that is dealt to a party member, and they are a bit of a lifesaver if you are in an emergency situation and you have already used your common healing items or heart restoring items. Then they can make the difference between a record run or a failed run. Yangaruga is a scary fight, but also one that can be over very quickly, but you have to accept a gamble to do it. So for the first turn, you want to do a beat charge with your bull drum, and if it targets your player character, you want to choose either between a speed or power attack, while choosing a power attack is the safer strategy. In the second turn, like shown here, Yangaruya will almost ever go for a tech attack, and the third turn you will answer it with a beat charge and a cheer up, and for the fourth turn you will do another beat charge and use an ancient potion so that you don't die. Here is one of the most difficult curved lines to take you from one entry to another one. I can't do it here because this overworld spawn is blocking me off, and you have to do some very certain positioning to even make that curve. That is one of the most difficult to dodge monkeys in the overworld, and its position can be very unfortunate to the point that you can't dodge it. climbing the vine is faster by about 1 second, but we don't have any climbing monster on our team, and if I would have, this monster would have to level and therefore lose more time than gained.
Ja. Grania.
Running up this trunk is super difficult as well, and you just want to stop here and just go up normally, because those crimson Koropecos are super fast and they get you very quickly. You can do Zinogre in 5 turns, but it's not going to happen very often. I still have to do more research in this, but currently I'm using a safe strat where I'm taking out one of its bugs and leave the other one alive so it can't call another bug, and one bug is enough for me to handle and not die. In this fight in general I want to team heal rather than using mega potions or other items in this regard. And Zinogre is a monster that you can poison, but since I have a Bone Cris, you're not going to see it in this run. And usually also you want to avoid a trap, only if you are being low on health or you have plenty of kinship energy. In this case you can do it. As you can observe, this fight is not going in my favor. Zinogre putting out a lot of unsuspected power attacks and being a mess in general. You can see that I have to go for safer strats with refilling hearts and stuff like this. And I'm on the brink of losing here. As soon as Zinogre gets tired, I know that I only have to hit one more time and it's done for. But I still need to deal with its bugs. And as you can witness, I survived this fight by 4 HP. By 4 HP. Let that sink in. Even after finishing off Zinogre in an epic manner, I can still die here if any overworld foe does pull a stealth attack on me by approaching me from behind, so I still need to be very careful. But as long as I'm not starting to run here, where this monkey is sleeping, I'm being safe and sound.
Gotcha.
Flying is the fastest form of movement in the game, so whenever I can do it, I will do it, but there's only few areas where it's actually like an open world and not some enclosed space. And this was the last time I can use the flying ability in an area to save time. The strategy for Cheval the second encounter follows a very simple premise. You beat charge and you make sure that you at all times have 2 hearts, because he has a heartless skin chip attack that in worst case can kill off 2 hearts in 1 turn. This area has a very annoying overworld spawn, which name I don't know, but I call them the Squeakers. And their squeaks are haunting me every time I'm passing by them. On this bridge, a barrel line can spawn, and then you just have to run into it because there's no way around it. But unfortunately, it didn't happen in this run. This place, I call it the Room of Faith, because you enter the room, you start running, and you hope that nothing runs into you, and that all the monsters are going in a favorable pattern. Both Cheval and Tigrex are very chill fights for me. Tigrex has a power nature, and it sometimes likes to go for technical attacks, which is great in my case, and it hasn't any shenanigans where it can take out 2 hearts with 1 attack, at least when I'm not being on the lowest HP on both of my team members. So it might appear to be stronger than it actually is, and when this thing is doing anything that's getting dangerous, then it is very predictable and very foreseeable, and you can counter it easily. I have to do more research on which body part I want to take out first, and that's about everything that you should know about this one. story wants you to investigate the stealing of some poi poi, which is a food, and therefore you need to talk with the numbers in the right order, which is something I can memorize quite well, but I always struggle to memorize the right path in Kirin's forest. And the game's like, okay, you've been playing the game for 2.5 hours, but still I need to show you how to catch bugs, because you're definitely going to need this in your run. Very challenging track here, lots of monsters with random movement, and those Yagis are very fast. This is the curve of faith, because you have no control if Yangaruga runs into you or not. It's decided by the dice or the gods, whatever random metric you believe in. First things first, Lagia Cruise is a fight where you won't die in, but it's a complicated fight nonetheless. You always wanna target its tail, because if you don't, it can release a very strong electrical attack upon you, which can additionally paralyze you. And the most difficult thing about this fight is the management of kinship energy. Also, Lagiacruz can get poisoned, so I'm not having this here, unfortunately. And it's a very long fight. So you need to have good healing, know when to heal, and get lucky with the head-to-heads. Healing is mainly done not to sustain life, but to gain kinship energy, so that I can press the maximum amount of speed charges on Lagiacruz. Welcome to Speedrun, one of the 2 level 10 run killers. This one, in the first turn you want to apply a mega potion onto your bull drum to A, heal for the damages, and B, gain some kinship energy. And if it targets your player character in the third turn, then you want to go for power. But besides that, just play this one safe and don't die. This one has an attack called Ethereal Form, where it gains even more speed and can outspeed you easily and inflict a lot of thunder calls on you that are going to kill immediately. So use every opportunity to put in some healing, heart restoring or protection items, and try to break its horn, its head part, as quick as possible. And if you're being in real emergency, you might still ride your monster, because then you can't die unless you fall off its back. But yeah, this one is super scary. My bull drum got paralyzed, which means I could have lost this battle if it didn't strike this turn, and I got lucky and everything went down in a good way. So right here in the snowfield, a gate locking behind the final boss of the game is taunting players, and to this day we haven't found any glitch to get behind it, and neither are we sure if it would be any beneficial, because the game's flag system is, as I mentioned, very brutal and very consistent, enforcing itself. So as long as we don't have anything, we don't know if this game will receive its major breakthrough, its barrier skip, you know, like in the Wind Waker. Those baggies are even faster than jaggies, but this one doesn't notice us, and we only have to be careful with this one. So you can see the red dot on the map, and you saw how fast it was. in this fight, Cheval the third encounter, I want to cast an ancient potion upon Bodrum on the first turn to gain kinship energy, and as soon as possible I want to cast a Moxie-Jump upon my team. This monster has an attack where it can wipe out 2 hearts if my Bodrum is low on HP, so I want to make sure to either have 3 hearts the whole time or have my Bodrum at a reasonable HP level with 2 hearts. Despite that, the fight is not too difficult as long as you abide to this rule, and for the rest you hope for good RNG. Akili Pietro can choose between all kinds of types, power, tech and speed, quite randomly, and you just wanna press B charges like the rest of the game. As soon as you notice the change in color, that means it is ready to pull off its strongest attack, and after that the fight is over and you can press whatever attack you want, because then it will not deal any more damage. And welcome to the second level 10 fight in the game. This one is Stiggins the Ogre. It brings 2 bugs with it and it's severely stronger. So I play very safe strategies for this one. First of all, I brought the Barrel Bomb from Gilligaran to kill one of its bugs, to save a turn with Bodrum ideally. And this one, I want to trap it. I'm using kinship energy in this way, but this fight you just want to play it out safe. You keep one of its bugs alive so that it can't recall for another one, and then you just want to press speed charges or any damage to take the Stygian out as quick as possible. Stiggins the Ogre can kill my player character with any move. There's only one rule where if you're winning and head-to-head interaction, then you can't die. So when I'm getting one, I'm always going for tech attack to hope it also goes for speed so that I can win and sustain life. Stiggin Zinogre is tired now, which means it's only one more turn for winning, like the previous Zinogre. When fighting Brachydios, consider that you didn't get any healing from the previous fight, so you also have to adapt your strategy to that. So if we're starting into this fight with full health, then we don't have to use an ancient potion, but if we do like here, then you should absolutely do. Same like Stiggin Zinogre, you should get in a Moxie Gem as soon as possible. This monster has an attack where it can take out 2 of your hearts really easily, and sometimes you don't see it in the whole fight, and sometimes it can pull it off 2 times, even like almost 2 times in a row, which is very scary. You want to take out its tail first, because for some reason this gives you a higher likelihood of getting into a tapping interaction. And as long as you're having enough kinship energy, you can also set a trap and then max out your damage and go for cheer up and beat charges. I rate Deviljho A4, which some might find hilarious, but in all of my runs I've never struggled with Deviljho. And now to the strategy. So you want to use an ancient potion in first turn to gain kinship energy, and whenever your player character is confronted, you go for speed, because this one has a very strong power nature and only rarely goes for technical attacks. And you don't use a trap unless you have full kinship energy. And for the rest of the fight, like all other fights, press B charges and cheer up. Deviljho does the Dragon Breath every time in the first turn, so losing 1 heart is expected. I enter Michele Pietro without any healing, and there's a first phase where I fight against a corrupted version of my own Wraithalos, and after this I get healed, so it's not any concern. For Michele Pietro, it's the longest fight in the game, and you want to apply an ancient potion in the first turn, because kinship energy management will be the most difficult concern of this fight that you have to deal with. You can poison Michele Pietro, and it's very unpredictable on which kind of attack type it will choose. And I give this fight a 8 difficulty because it has an attack where it drains your kinship energy, and it can erect a barrier where you only can inflict more damage as long as you target its head part, and you also need to destroy the head to bring down the barrier. And when you don't have any more kinship energy, this means you can't control which body part Buldrum attacks, and in the worst case, because you're also not gaining kinship energy in that state, you can lose at the end of the run. But as long as you're doing good management, then you should be fine. I got a very good fight here. I'm getting 3 attacks from Michele Pietro in a row, and then in the 4th turn it answers with a power attack, which means it's a pass, and not seeing a speed attack being pulled off from Michele Pietro so far. And it gets even more insane. So this is the 5th head-to-head interaction that I'm winning with Buldrum, or like that I'm winning in general in this fight. I didn't get any speed or any losing interaction with this one, and I'm even thinking maybe without this even good luck, I wouldn't have been able to beat the run in under 3 hours. Now that I'm seeing the footage here. time on the last input on defeating this monster, and it was a great run. Of course, there's more things to improve. I lost time on Zemtrios, I got stuck on edges, I got a pretty bad Zinogre fight, there was some manuing done wrong. I didn't make it in the 10 minutes time limit after defeating Diablos, where I do arrange everything for the rest of the run. So getting under the 2:59 is very achievable, and I even suspect that a time into the 2:55s is maybe possible if you're getting a astronomically good run with the perfect RNG and perfect everything, refined movement, better strategies. So the thing is, like, I've been routing the whole game, but it's only my perspective, because I'm a human being. So if someone else joins this community or brings its thoughts onto this game, I'm totally believing that there will be new strategies, things that I have overseen, and this will push the game even further. If you did notice, I didn't use guard or any surrogate gem in this run. This means you can even go riskier, and I will probably do it my next run. With that being said, cheers, have a great day, and I hope you enjoyed my commentary.